Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. If you've ever watched one of my 6x6 videos, you've seen me change the tape on my ATG, although in those videos it's sped up 6 times. I've received several requests for a separate video showing how to change the roll of tape. I'll also share some tips and tricks that I've learned and let you know where I purchase the refills. So here is my pink ATG. I use this all the time. It used to have the Scotch label on the front and the back, but I did remove that. I just used some Goo Gone to get all of the adhesive off. And then I've decorated it with some rub-ons and some stickers. And some of those have faded over the years. Now generally when you first purchase the ATG, it does include a couple rolls of tape. So I do have one of the original, this is the Scotch ATG on the left, and then on the right, this is a generic refill. I purchased them from a company online called Tape Jungle. I always purchase a full case, that way I won't run out anytime soon. If you do choose to buy a non-brand refill, it's important to make sure the little ring on the inside, this little white piece, has 12 holes. There are some that only have the 6 holes, and it does shift quite a bit in your ATG. I know some people prefer to only use the Scotch brand, and that's fine. It really is a preference. I've never had a problem with Tape Jungle brand, and I go through a ton of tape, so this really does save me quite a bit of money. I have provided a link in the description box for the type of tape I purchased. And this isn't sponsored by Tape Jungle at all. I just really like their tape. So when it's time to put a new refill into your ATG, you're going to take your thumb, push it into this latch, and that will open up the clear lid. Now, my ATG is very well loved. I actually have 3 broken parts, but it still works just fine. I have a little chip on one of the rollers. One of the little notch, this little plastic piece has broken off, and then there's this other side that some of the plastic has broken off. But mine still works just great. Next, you're going to remove this black piece on the right hand side. You just push it in, turn it slightly, and this is the side that holds the empty roll. When there isn't any tape on that right hand side, there are some pictures on this black piece that show how to load the ATG. And there's also arrows. So it shows you the direction the tape should go, and that's really helpful because I know it does get confusing. When I first bought mine, it took me several times before I had it down. Now I think I could probably do it in my sleep. When you get your new roll, you're going to peel off the little starter piece, and you're going to have it so it's going to come off on the bottom and toward the left. You don't want the tape to start off on the top of the roll. You're going to want it on the bottom. And then you'll push that in place so that little black notch holds onto that white ring. Now when you start the tape, you want it to go over the first roller and under the second roller. And you'll just push in the black trigger. That way it'll loosen up the gears or the wheels. I'm not sure what those are called. And then you can pull out some more of the tape. So next, you're going to pull that tape around to the top of the roll. So this is following those arrows on the background. So now you can see the path of the tape. And then the end is going to go onto this right hand side. And there is a little notch that you're going to kind of tuck the end through. There are the 2 notches on this black piece. So you're just weaving the end of the tape through those. And then you're going to wrap the rest of this tape around that black roller. And usually the very end of the tape has a little bit of adhesive on it, and that way it'll stay in place. Now just push the black trigger again and turn that right hand side wheel. That way the tape starts to turn a little and it's not going to slip off. And now you can reattach this black piece. You just push it in slightly and turn it just a little bit to the right. It doesn't turn very much, but it does hold the tape in place. And you'll know you have it loaded correctly if you can feel the sticky tape on that front roller. Now I want to talk about an issue that I've noticed with the pink ATG, and it's really easy to fix. As you can see, I do have another ATG. I actually own 5, although my daughter does use one of them. Now, the issue that I've noticed on all my pink ATGs, along with my local craft friends, is they squeak when you use them. So this is a very simple fix. You're just going to need a screwdriver. You're going to remove those two front screws from the little rollers. So I'm just going to do one of them. So this is a Phillips head screwdriver that you're going to need. Just pull out the screw. Now, if your ATG is already loaded with a roll of tape, you are going to want to remove that. I'm just tearing mine off and then I can easily reload it later. Next, you're going to lift off that front roller or the back roller, depending on which one you're starting with. And this will expose this metal post. So next, you're going to need some petroleum jelly and also a cotton swab. So all you're going to do is put a small amount of the petroleum jelly on the end of that swab, and you're going to rub it all over this post. So you just need a thin coat of it. You don't need a lot, but you do want to get good coverage. Just wipe off any excess. Then once you have that finished, you'll also do the same thing on that next roller. I'm just not going to do both. And then you can replace both of the rollers and attach it with the screw. And just a heads up, those screws are on there really tight. I had to get my husband to loosen them up for me. So that is all you have to do, and that should take away or at least reduce that squeaky sound. And I've only had to do this one time to my ATG. That squeak sound doesn't seem to come back. Another issue that is very common is the tape falling off the end of the roller. Now, this does not happen very often for me, maybe one roll out of 50 of them. I don't currently have a roll that's doing this, so I'm trying to show you what it would look like. So somehow the tape is just shifted slightly and it leans toward the left. So it's just on the very edge of that roller. Kind of tip it up so you can see, because you want that tape on the roller completely. It's very frustrating when you're trying to make a card and the tape slips completely off. But there is a way to work around this issue. Basically, you want to create a shim. That way that roll isn't going to slip off. You don't want it to have any wiggle room. So here is a shim that my son made for me. He has a 3D printer and he made me the perfect size shim. Took him a little bit of work to get the measurements correctly. It's very snug, but it goes on here really nicely. The hole needs to be slightly smaller than that white ring, and the shim needs to be thin enough that it can still fit over the roll of tape and go underneath that little black notch. So another solution, if you don't have a 3D printer handy, is you can use some cardboard. And I find the perfect thickness is a box of cereal. So you can just go ahead and cut out a circle. And this is basically the same size, maybe a little bit bigger than the roll of tape. So it's about 3 inches. And for the smaller hole, you can take one of the ATG rolls and then just trace on the inside of that white ring. And then you can just cut this hole out. And you're just going to want to make sure that it's big enough to fit over everything, but small enough that it's not going to slip off. And with the shim in place, that roll isn't going to have that extra wiggle room, so the tape shouldn't be coming off that end roller. With the cardboard shim, it does get pretty sticky, and you'll just have to replace it once in a while. The plastic shim gets sticky as well, but it's much easier to clean. I hope these tips are helpful for you, and if you have any other suggestions, go ahead and leave me a comment. I have provided links in the description box where you can purchase an ATG along with the refills that I recommended. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.